The drive home.
He said, I do that around here. He said, and I think he's doing yeah.
They're tamed. And they're running down.
Good. Power naps. Power naps never bad.
Back at it. Yeah, sure. They give a presentation all out. Yeah. Yes, it's last. And say. And. They're just fantastic. Yeah, they go better than they didn't get sometimes. Yeah. You list them all here. That's route. It says. Yes, 3 more. 225. Yeah, this is the sessions for it. I'll be listening. Was that the draft one? Look at me, you're saying
42. Just.
This one's going to Zoom and live stream, yeah, you can do it anywhere else again, but you'll be backwards, I mean, you're backwards on my screen. So if you guys join us, well, there was a share your screen, then I'm looking at watching. It's the same link that I got.
Yeah, you got to go on there.
I think it's okay. Do you want me to email it to you, George, or you want to, and you find it?
Might be easier.
I would just, probably slides.
Go ahead on.
You can't see them. You can't see them.
Yes, you are.
You can't see them on the presentation. We can move that table a little closer, if it could be bigger. Like that. But then you get him speaking. Perfect, thank you. That's fully. And the library too.
Yeah.
You're gonna be great. I will be very nervous. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Again, I probably like forget. But it will be fun. Yes, no, the we. You got it.
We do not forget.
I'm sure it's been.
I don't know if they do it.
Part of
I mean, the project is going one way. Oh, right. It's, we have, the audit.
Maybe I just didn't know. Especially. Is this, well, the one tomorrow I canceled. Oh, well, okay, okay. That's the one here, okay, that was. That's not advertised before, I haven't made it. Yeah. Well, we plan on doing it again. And you guys.
Wait, so can you like?
That's strong.
Oh, is he already here? Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, George. I was just gonna give you the passcode, but you're already on it.
But. It's not like things never happen. Look at that magic. Wow.
Let me, do I have to allow share screen sharing?
It's on.
Is it? Okay.
But maybe.
He's gonna share his
He wants-
screen.
I might.
What? No, Georgia. Great. Thank you, George. Well done.
Okay.
Good job. Let's see what. See how that gets out.
Oh, excellent.
Perfect. Then that stays there. Remove this.
Okay, it's even like.
Yeah. Yeah, we just.
No.
Like, next slide.
Let's see.
Oh,
No,
so
well-
just like the arrow.
I could also do this.
And the less technology.
Okay, first of all, apologies, I did not factor in Ithaca traffic, among other things, but, so glad to be here. My name is George Franz, a professor, City and Regional Planning at Cornell. And the past semester, my students, actually, Rare and Natalie, are part of the team to make the presentation tonight. But this,
We did that to like, you know.
turn it off.
The stress levels lower down.
Yeah. This is all planned, right?
Yeah.
It's a test.
Yeah.
Okay, where was, I teach what's known as the Land Use Environmental Planning Field Workshop. And what I've been doing is, for 20 years now, actually, is taking students out of the classroom and putting them into a community, a client community, to do some sort of planning project. And so far, I've taken students into about 45 upstate communities. Hector, I've done Cuba Lake, Chemung County, Seneca County, Tompkins County, and then also the Catskill region, Hudson River Valley. So I've seen a lot of upstate New York. But the point is to give them the opportunity to actually apply what they learned in the classroom to real life planning projects. And so we actually started in Hector last spring. And this is sort of the capstone semester where we have a draft comprehensive plan almost done, but this is a presentation of just the high points of the new comprehensive plan that we're drafting. And I want to really say right up front, okay, this is our plan. This is Cornell's plan, okay? And this is the beginning of the process here in Hector over the next month or longer. There's going to be probably a lot of these meetings, okay? Because this is our proposal, and now we're making this first presentation tonight, but ultimately our job isn't finished until you have a comprehensive plan that you are comfortable with. You, the residents of the town of Hector. Okay, so this is again just sort of the introduction of an overview of some of their thinking, recommendations, and the like. And again, it's just the beginning of the conversation. So I'll just turn it over to Priya. So.
So, first of all, I will just do a brief introduction of the community profile. Before we jump into our recommendations, we should know who is Hector. Well, Hector is Schuyler County's largest town with roughly 4,850 residents and over 20,000 acres in active agricultural programs. And Road 414 carries nearly 3,000 vehicles a day at peak. And over 85% of residents commute by private vehicle. There are essentially no alternatives. So based on that, two conditions drive this plan. First of all, tourism and development pressure along the lake corridor is growing with no zoning framework to guide it. And second, the population is aging into a transportation system that doesn't serve non-drivers. And every recommendation we made are kind of follow the one of or two of these realities. And here is demographic. Well, so if you look at these two graphs together, what they are really showing us is that the Hector has actually done pretty well compared to its neighbors. We grew steadily for decades, and even though things have slowed down a little bit since 2010, we haven't lost people the way Schuyler County has. Something to feel good about, but it also raises a real question for us as planners. If growth is leveling up, what does that mean for services, for schools, for local business? We can't just assume things will keep growing the way they did in 80s, in 90s. So part of what this plan is trying to do is help us think realistically what Hector looks like over the next 20 years. And here is a profile for housing. It's something that could kind of surprise. Hector actually built housing at twice the rate of the Schuyler County over the last 30 years. That tells us people wanted to move here, and we are building to meet that demand. But there's the thing, now the population growth has slowed down, and we need to ask ourselves, what kind of housing do we actually need going forward? And are we building the right types of houses for people who want to live here? Whether there's young families, retirees, or seasonal residents, that's a conversation this plan's trying to start with.
All right. Full disclosure, I'm very nervous about public speaking. I'm Natalie, and I'm from an area in California that is not quite as nice, but similar, very rural, the Central Valley ag sort of And so nice to be here, and thank you, everyone. So our vision, and it really should be, in the end, final, your vision, the town of Hector, the people of Hector. And this is just sort of opening the dialogue, and sometimes I'm just so glad that so many people are here and engaged and involved, and that's fantastic. The town of Hector, it's beautiful. It has a sort of rural, similar topography, and we want to keep it beautiful. We want to, what you want. We want the city that you guys, you guys know it, Hector, and I think working together, we can really, it's a beautiful, special place. There's lake shores, forest, farmland, and I'm a historic preservation lady, and so just fantastic. I've been blown away. And the tourism, there's just so much here, you all know that. And there's potential for growth, there is growth. And, we just sort of want to figure out how to keep things sort of, ecologically sound, and while keeping the cultural identity of the area. Okay, and then this is our comprehensive planning framework. And we're proposing a concept for Hector's first zoning code. And I don't know if many of you are familiar with the ins and outs of zoning code, but I really like learning about zoning code. It's quite interesting. And again, this should be a sort of community effort. If the community decides that the zoning is an appropriate next step, it might not. It's a 5-district framework organized around where growth actually belongs. Agriculture and vineyard conservation covers the interior farmland, and rural residential conservation handles low-density areas outside of the hamlets. The Hector Hamlet mixed-use district establishes. Should I put the microphone?
It can't hurt. If you don't mind.
I feel
Yeah, that's
there's
better.
a sort of
Thank you.
feedback. The mixed-use district establishes a compact town center. The Lakefront Mixed-Use District governs the corridor between Seneca Lake and Route 414, and rural service and employment captured contractor and small employment. 3 overlays sit on top: lake and scenic design, steep slope protection, and the Route 414. The core principle: direct growth nodes with specific standards spread across the landscape. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm normally doing research and not public speaking. So Hamlet revitalization. The goal of Town of Hector is to focus on the future public and private investments in the hamlets. And the hamlet should continue to function as the economic, social, and cultural centers of the community. And you know exactly what you're all here to make sure that it has all the right components, and who knows it better than the residents. We want to prioritize the location of civic, social, and cultural functions within the major hamlets, enhance walkability, preserve historical architectural character of key sites, of course, improve the overall appearance of business operations in the hamlets, and encourage adaptive reuse of existing structures. I've seen a lot of really exciting, already sort of work done, and ensure new developments respect the existing scale, height, and setback patterns. And residential living, it is the goal of the town of Hector to promote the development and maintenance of residential living environments that are diverse, attractive, accessible, resilient. Housing in Hector town should accommodate residents across all life stages and income levels while respecting the rural agricultural character of the landscape. I'm a mother, and I have an elderly father who's back home, and I've sort of am familiar with all walks of the and it's incredibly important, and to expand housing options, especially senior housing, to serve various types of income levels, household types, age-friendly design services that support aging in place. I really love that idea. I hope, if it works for you, then that's fantastic. I think it's a great concept. Support the rehabilitation of older homes and direct new housing into areas with water infrastructure. And housing diversity, tools for the aging community. Okay, you can, it's a lot larger on your screen. There are several options, including the integrated accessory apartment, house scale fourplex, manufactured housing, senior and assisted living. And I think it tends to, vary. It can be case by case, but just the lack of it, there could be more, across the board. And we'd like to hear sort of what the needs are. And the natural resources and sustainability. We'd like to protect, enhance, restore the natural systems that sustain human and ecological well-being. And the town will pursue sustainability as a core principle of community planning, respecting the limits of natural systems while promoting resilience and long-term prosperity. If that's what you all feel is the right way to go. Again, like living in an area know sort of the land a little, the best. And, again, the open dialogue is just the absolute best way. So we want to hear from you. And community services, of course, community resources provide a high level of service to local businesses and residents at a reasonable cost. The quality of life in the town is positively impacted by the health and safety benefits provided by law enforcement, emergency service providers, as well as public water infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure. I again, like, very nervous public speaking, so thank you for bearing with me. Provide services or access to the services necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of Hector residents. I think that's, goes without saying. Enhance access to recreation and leisure activities within the town of Hector in collaboration with state and federal agencies. Create opportunities of increased public involvement in building a better community. I think that's absolutely key. The community, there's really no other way. Encourage expansion of high-speed internet within the town of Hector, very important, and locate future community facilities in areas accessible to town residents. Land use planning. The goal of Hector to retain the community's rural character and contribute to its economic health through the support of land use planning that will protect the community values and Hector's land resources for future generations. I grew up around many farms, and it feels like home here. I can't wait to explore more. But it's, the rural nature of it is very special and, worth protecting. So provide services or access to the services necessary to ensure health, safety, welfare, recreation. Okay. I've already read that. Okay, and responding to growth, Hector has grown moderately over the past 2 decades. Many of our cities are seeing a decline in population, so that's actually, that's great. And 149 new single-family homes, 53 multi-family dwellings, 17 retail commercial businesses, and 37 industrial shop structures, 68 agricultural buildings. That's fantastic. And new multi-family housing is laborgate, development about all but 5 new businesses in the town are located along Route 414. Investment in agriculture is primarily in the form of barns, sheds, and greenhouses. Contrary to the perception in recent decades that agriculture is disappearing, it is evolving. Note that industrial shop structure are almost all personal garages, workshops, and storage sheds, very common in rural areas in New York. And responding to growth. It's the goal of the town of Hector to promote growth that retains the community rural character, once again, contributes to the economic health and, keeps community values and keeps Hector a Hector for the future. We have a lakefront area managed development proposal, comprehensive plan direction. Limit hospitality scale, preserve lake character.
You can hand it over to Ray.
Okay, I'm so sorry, I thought I was going till the end, I'm so nervous, so thank you. So, thank you, like, my knees are shaking, I really appreciate it, thank you guys.
Okay, so one of our points through this plan is also lakefront area. So this area is between Central Lake and Road 14. And so our recommendation is 150 feet from the high water mark would be the vegetated buffer. So no structures between that. And the hotel buildings may come like as close as 150 feet, but only as an earned payment. And the planning board can require more where the slopes or vegetations, corporate, and parking lots goes further back at like 200 feet minimum. Impervious coverage is capped at like 20%. And stormwater runoff directly threatens the vineyard economy as well as a tourism brand. So that cap is as much a water quality tool as a design standard. And here we come to vineyards as an economic landscape. Vineyards in Hector are both productive agricultural land and the foundation of the town's economic identity. So the first priority from our suggestion is preserving the production base, protecting the contiguous vineyard and the farm parcels, especially where the shape for 14 views. So without the active farms and vineyards, Hector may lose what makes it worse to come. So the plan supports value-added tourism, like tasting rooms, tours, agritourism, lodging, but only where active production stays dominant. The 75% agricultural land standard applies here. And the shared access, wayfinding, and shuttle links manage visitors spillover, so the wine tourism does not become street development. And during our field trip, we also visited the local winery industry. Thanks to Professor Josh, we got the chance to taste the winery here. It's really beautiful. And this also inspired our thoughts on the agricultural tourism supporting the local winery country economy.
I field research is very important.
Yes, for sure. Agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this month's ending. I'll have time.
Yeah. So based on that, these three regulations are all come from the same place. So the goal here is to protect the contiguous farmland before parcel by parcel pressure fragments the landscape itself and redirect growth to where it belongs. And we respond voluntary tools to protect farms and vineyards and other working land intact. Agricultural district protections, purchase of development rights and clusters and cluster subdivision development. So the key word is voluntary. This is about giving farmers more options, not restricting them. Yes, so this plan above all, like the recognizable actor, rural, ethnic, agricultural, wine country, and small town at its core. It allows lakefront hospitality and senior housing done right. It also protects farms, vineyards, shorelines, and stream corridors through clear, enforceable policies. And it links water, land, and hamlet growth into one coherent strategy. And yeah, that's our plan as a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Any questions?
Are you gonna survey the residents?
I mean,
We could, that's something we could do, yes. Survey the residents. Yeah. And by the way, as a planner, I always have this type of information before the residents. Okay. The practice today is really, let's do a survey as the first step of a planning process. Okay. I want to give you some, tangible information, for instance, of growth in Hector. Okay, that's pretty important, I think, for you to have an understanding of exactly how the town is evolving as you fill out the survey. Okay, so that's why we haven't had that.
We have to know what questions to ask.
yeah, and
Well,
absolutely,
Yes, we have to start some.
yeah. I think that's incredibly important and like, there's no other way. And to know what questions to ask and what resources there are, absolutely. And if there's a way to engage sort of a better, dialogue or, to help, I mean, to show, I don't want to say show you how, but like, it's your Hector, it's, and you know it best. And of course, who else could, you have, yeah.
A quick question, so the data about housing, what year does that go through?
this
Yes,
this is 2002 to 2022.
okay, so in 2024, 2025, 2026, we've had much higher growth than that in the town of Hector. We just had a comprehensive housing study for the whole county. And I looked at that specifically for Hector, and this is something that gets talked about a lot, and so it is particularly important since we have the highest number of building permits being issued and we don't have planning.
Yeah.
That we really be focused on the planning, so I'm also wondering if you can go back to the slide, which I think that is excellent and useful for people in the room. That helps with an understanding of how you balance the agricultural nature with those zones and what those types of development or planning look like. So literally those definitions are very good. So I think that might be a good place to.
And
Yeah.
from your perspective, what has like worked and what hasn't in terms of the development and like,
Here,
yeah.
well, we have fortunately had some very responsible development
Yeah.
of businesses.
yeah.
So when you talk about things like offsets, is there perfection? No.
Yeah.
But certainly, some of the businesses that have come into being, which are a big part of our local economy, have been responsible in how they have carried that out. They're not right on the road. That's helpful, but we also have, a very fast growth of housing that does not meet what our makeup is in the county. It doesn't address aging in place. It's not affordable housing for the folks who work here, who want to live and work here. I haven't seen what I would call, that company size house, one level. I haven't seen that built.
Yeah.
Not even in the county, plus here.
Luxury apartments and maybe.
Yeah, lots of luxury apartments, lots of very, big places.
And again, there's so many concepts with regard to housing. In Pennsylvania, actually, we have what's called eco cottages or elder cottages, which are actually factory built, brought on site, set down, attached to the utilities of the house, and there you go. You have an accessible dwelling unit. This map is actually, this was developed in the class, scanning satellite, literally looking at satellite imagery from 2000 and then 2022. So actually, it would not be that difficult to bring it up to 2025.
I think that would be useful in
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, and again, it's quite 149 new homes. Okay. But again, the pleasant surprise was also the investment in agriculture.
It's almost, you have two different, two different groups there. You get the 414 business group, which is doing exceptionally well. A lot of new businesses over the last few years. And you've seen expansion, Bergen Farms is one of them, but you've got Gates and Gages and Schweitzers that are all huge farmer.
Yeah.
Taking over a lot of existing farm that
Yeah.
work till. But so you almost have to have a dual approach, depending on what part of the county you're in.
Oh,
what
yeah.
part of Hector you're in, because there's definitely a big plus for the 414 corridor and all the businesses that have been brought into that area.
Yeah.
Very lucky. It brings a lot of tourism in and a lot of money spent as a result. But you can't forget the farmers
Yeah.
on the farm side of it even. So it's gotta work for both.
Yeah. And we spent a lot of time looking at that core. And actually, we're doing actually a census
Yeah.
of businesses.
Yeah, businesses on the corridor, and yeah.
But that's why I like the slide that shows you those different sections. And as it goes,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's important, because can't have everything in every place. There are areas where the land is more suited, it's flat, it's not super steep slopes. So there are other factors, and I think that is going to be a critical part in having people come to an understanding of why planning is important.
We had a question in the back.
The 149 too, is that a net number? Because when I'm looking at all those red dots along the lakefront, those are very new houses, but they've already ripped down 2 cottages and put a mega place up there. So that number showing 149, I'm thinking is really lower because they replace houses.
Yeah.
And those houses that they replace down there, those people, I'm not being mean about it, they're not Hector residents. They come, they enjoy the lake, hit the winery, and leave town.
Yeah.
They don't participate in these meetings, they're not voters for town Hector, because if you've got enough money to live on the lake and one of those red dots, you're resident of Florida, because they don't tax you there. So those are all more or less vacation properties being added there.
Yeah.
It's not coping, when we expand these business owners, will tell you, they can't find workers.
Yeah.
Nobody can afford to live here.
Yeah.
Or there's just no housing for workers. A house goes up for sale, somebody buys, rents it into an Airbnb. and
Yeah,
it's
like big nameless corporation, that's a very similar problem.
So the county's housing plan study just recently completed for the county, but again, it shows all of the townships. And in that plan, it's very clearly stated at a minimum, you would need to add 100 units per year of housing.
In the county.
In the county, everywhere. There's no places really exempt from this.
Yeah.
We're particularly affected by it because of our size. But that's just to keep pace with the already really dire shortage of housing. So that's not a plan for growth. It's just saying this is
That's maintenance.
this is where it is.
Yeah.
This is where we are. Then if you add into it the structures that are aging out of their useful life.
Yeah.
That's where the planning part especially becomes important, because those structures will go away. Something's going to change with tear them down, something else is going to be built. What will it be built? Will it be family dwelling? Will it be something that's accessible because it's at one level? Will it be affordable? So this is a great little red map. I agree with Mike, he's entirely right, but it really update that with all the little points
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think your question was, these are all new. But is there also that it's happening everywhere else where people are going in, buying a small cottage, tearing it down and building a big mansion?
Right, 2 or 3 cottages in turn,
Yeah.
those 3 don't make a permanent mansion.
Yeah, and they use more water, they generate more sewage, and
that's an issue for the lake quality. So, but yeah, this does not show that. This is brand new construction.
I think the other, piece, for 43 years, I worked at Cornell. And public transportation is sorely lacking, and I understand the cost and the benefit to it. There has to be a balance, but for the first few years I worked there, I did take the bus that came from Chemung through Schuyler to Tompkins. And then that just didn't keep pace with the hours that I was required to work. But we sorely are lacking in public transportation as you get older. You know, my husband is not driving like he used to, and it would be great sometimes to send him to his doctor's office by public transportation and not have to be the person who takes him. Absolutely. Not that I mind it, I signed up for it, but I think that really needs to be something that we look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be great to be surveying this need. I worked as a mobility manager for a period of time for the county, and I do know that at the Hector Family Fair this year, we're planning to do a survey to find out what level of interest or use people might have if we had an additional route that regularly, not on call, not the
Right.
range hours, they have came up the 414 corridor. How many people would utilize that could get them that then to other transportation hubs that we have in the system that gets them to healthcare, shopping, to those things. So if that can be incorporated in the public process, that's going to be important. And I officially am doing the survey at the family fair. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's why you see a lot here about revitalizing the hamlet. Okay, is with the people living in the hamlets, you know, possibility to walk, or you can concentrate people close to the bus stops and make using the bus a lot more attractive. This is very good, thank you.
That's
huge.
Yeah.
Any other?
I'm just wondering, on my question or comment about the lake, is it helpful when you're doing a planning or looking at the planning of this as a planner to break out single family homes to, primary and second home owners, or does that, is it like along the lake is probably primarily second home? But does there make any difference in planning, or it's just that there's they are uses there?
I mean, it's,
Demographically, I guess.
I mean, primary, secondary, it can have issues, of course, particularly when outsiders are buying up homes, outbidding what local residents can pay. Of course, the house is still on the tax base.
It's gonna be much higher.
But
The value,
it's not available local.
every time it changes hands, increases.
Sorry.
It impacts tax base, because every time it changes hands, to your point, it's not that family cottage anymore, it's a double cottage or multi-level or that,
Yeah.
and they're there for a week or two for the entire year, but so it does increase it for the poor people that live either side of it end up having a lot of increase in
Their assessments go up.
as a result.
Also, my, their short-term, yes, Airbnb,
And that property tax is not the primary economic driver. It's not fuel for a local economy. It's the sales tax.
Yeah.
That's the fuel. So it doesn't, sometimes people say, oh, well, it sold for this much and it'll have that value. People will be paying that much. Isn't that great? But to your point, Mark, it's not great because it affects the affordability. And it's not truly it's not the biggest pot of money. The biggest pot of money is the sales tax.
It certainly happened in agriculture, not wineries, but small family farms have gone by the wayside. Ditto, that's us. We're hanging on as long as we can keep paying, but the massive difference between the small family farm and the Bergen farm, and it's nothing against his crew. It's nothing against them, it's just that's the reality that we're living with, that a farm we've had for 207 years
What a loss.
might be with us another 10 or 15,
And
who
that's
knows?
part of the cultural fabric of Hector.
And that's sad for me.
It, I know, it's very sad. That's fantastic. But it's a huge issue. I'm, in farming area as well, in the big factory farms. It's hard. But I feel like, you know, I am a regular.
It's the way of the world. You know, we
So
gotta change.
I feel like, you know.
I never thought I'd be this way, right?
Yeah.
Just like my mother.
Honestly, this whole thing though is as the businesses go, so does the employment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more employment, a lot more opportunities in this area. And the jobs, starting out with, you know, like the service industry, we work their way up and it actually would make it somewhat viable to actually have a job in this area
With them.
and live. But the tax can't afford to live or own property as a result of a lot of these changes, so.
And it's also changed the dynamic of our people because the farms that are huge farms that we have now are bringing in workers
Yeah.
that rely on our systems of healthcare and groceries and everything to support people that, you know, may be a whole different culture than what we're used to. We really have to open our eyes and embrace change. But it does mean a change in, you know, I'm in healthcare background. It really changes how we think about healthcare because we have a whole different population than what we did 50 years ago.
Any,
Also.
Right,
I'm
sorry.
one of the younger members and it's only, the ages are only getting older.
let's go.
We don't,
Yeah.
the ages are only getting older, we don't. I know a lot of people have an issue with going in, you know, their home, whether it's transporting them to somewhere else.
Hey Regan, I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Go ahead and speak up. I know you
Yeah,
can.
house.
Yeah, it's okay. I want to hear that.
The lack of desirability of senior housing is like, is that what you're saying, the
Yeah.
senior housing, yeah.
So the front row is old.
Yeah.
Okay, don't attack me, but yes, but it seems we are getting more and more older people and not younger people, and because a lot of people not leave practice because of the other years. And even if they do try to, they don't leave the community, they want to stay in the community, they don't want to go to the city. So we just try and like figure out the balance between that, but not to get into the agricultural space, like how Gail was saying with the zone. And just trying to find the balance, because there's barely any room on Fort Protein to put a senior living. But at the time, people want to see a skyline go up and after.
You put the nail right in it. That's
Yeah,
the dilemma, the heart of the dilemma.
It's fantastic. Bring your friends, you know, like, you know, younger people, not, yeah. Sure, I think the aging in place is ideal, you know, to have that system of family, it improves the health. But you do need transportation, and access to, you know, all of there's many appointments, I mean, like, I have a 3-year-old and my father, born in 46 and is a disabled veteran. And, you know, all sorts of appointments and, you know, you need the transportation, but, when you said, non-sort of residents stressing the healthcare system as well, and, absolutely, but, not wanting to leave, like, you know, and that's why we're here, I think, to, you know, help keep Hector, you know. How can we help, or any, like, what is something that, would, you know, be more effective, and what's something terrible that you don't like at all, like, you know, it only helps to hear.
I would make a suggestion. I think it would be helpful if the hamlets could have their own visioning
Yeah,
sessions.
and that's good to know, yeah.
The sector is really large and diverse, and it's hard to look at the whole thing in one big picture. So, but I agree with the supporting hamlets. That's a smaller system, absolutely. Yeah. Neighborhood.
I have, one thing, one of one of the biggest employers in the town, Hector, is actually Cornell. And, you know, it seems like this is huge towards agriculture, which obviously here, but it is a better community in that sense, of where people work.
And would you say more like sort of tenured positions or more
Across
across the board? Okay.
Yeah, it's like IT people, it's
Yeah,
professors,
yeah.
it's really everything.
Yeah, okay.
And again, I've been working in the region for about 40 years. And people keep moving out of Ithaca. And
Yeah.
now they're in Hector.
Yes, and Lansing, all of them.
I think this is just me, again, my observation, but Burdette seems to have been discovered lately, because I've noticed a lot of the old houses have been rehabbed. And I'm just wondering, are they coming from Ithaca?
Sure,
But
Yeah,
but
they're
that's-
coming from everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, if you
Investors.
if you talk to the folks who are living in Burdette today, some people have been there generationally.
Yeah.
Some people have moved because they came and visited the area. And it is on a route that allows you to get to employment in other counties. The vast majority of people do not have the privilege of working in the county unless they are working in distinctly in tourism, or they're working in agriculture, because we don't have those types of job centers. In the area. Certainly don't have them in Hector.
Yeah.
Unless you're in agriculture or in agritourism or in tourism hospitality.
One of the things that I've been told too is you guys are practically halfway between Ithaca and Cornell and Corning. And so one spouse is working in Corning, one spouse is working in Cornell, but you're absolutely right, there's not a lot of employment left in Schuyler County. People have to commute elsewhere.
If you looked at Schuyler County 30 years ago, I mean, the racetrack is a big impact, even though it's, this guy's weekend races. But the racetrack is at Watkins Glen is pretty much dead.
Yeah.
There was really no activity, new businesses were kept out. Not allowed to come in until the recent years. And you take the wine industry and you add that to it too, and microbreweries, that's also giving a boost to the whole economy there. So those are all both positive things. But I think to answer your question and what's the impact, why are people moving into Schuyler County? You look at the surrounding counties and see what the impact is of this map on those other counties, to see how many people have moved out into Schuyler County because it's less restrictive. They don't have the zoning, they don't have the restrictions that in many cases, some of them do. But a lot of them don't, and in Schuyler County, they have the zoning issues. They move into Schuyler County because they have that freedom. And I think you're gonna find there's a lot of people that are concerned about the freedom, the lack of. So you've got to look at it from both perspectives. Of being able to come in and build a house, follow the guidelines you need to do with, based on requirements, but not so restrictive that you can't have some sense of freedom and understanding of what you kind of can't do. So I think if you look at Seneca County, Chemung County, and look around and see, is this the same thing we're seeing in Hector or Schuyler County? I have my doubts that it is. I have a feeling a lot of people are moving into Schuyler County as a result of the freedoms that are here available.
So we talked about zoning, what, 10 years ago now, yes. And there was
quite a bit of resistance to it. And I guess what I don't understand is why we can't at least have a planning board or some kind of organization to vet people who are coming here or wanting to put in some kind of project that we don't want. So is there any way, I don't know anything about this, but is this plan legally binding, or can something be built into the plan so that we have some kind of, regulation, or I have no idea. I mean,
That-
what I'm
That's why we're
asking.
here. We want you to build into it. It's not, right, this is.
Well, that's one of the things to actually discuss in the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it now? Yeah, it's going on 10 years. But 10 years ago in Newfield, they had a community debate. Is it time for Newfield to adopt zoning? And I was there, it was a bit heated. But the decision was, no, we're not ready for zoning. However, to answer your question, what triggered the debate in Newfield was this guy building his solid waste business. He started out when there weren't any houses around him, okay? And so suddenly, 15 years later, he's got all these houses surrounding him and they don't like his business. And that triggered this whole debate in Newfield. So, but they weren't ready for zoning. What Newfield did do was adopt something known as site plan approval. Okay, for commercial and industrial uses. And set it up so the applicant has to meet specific design requirements. You could also say it can only, Newfields permits it along Route 13 and 9634. Okay, so it's not zoning, but it is.
I mean, planning is a much more
But it's
sensible word to use,
Yeah.
because unless you're in areas of great concentration in many ways, strict zoning doesn't have a role. We already don't have certain types of infrastructure, that we're not at that point. But I think what people are embracing is, and what we're here talking about, local control
local control.
over the area that people have chosen and invest in to be in. So that local control part is a series of permitting. And it shocks me to think that folks who want to do something who aren't already in the mix think that type of permitting is restrictive, because most of it is environmental, it's safety, it's infrastructure, it's all of the things that you're talking about here, which if you're going to live there, you care about them.
Yeah.
Very simple. We all care about them.
Did you?
No, I remember what someone else said, but they tried zoning. Actually, I think it was about 4 years ago, because I was one of the people that sat the local bandy to get people to come in and sign against it. They tried it about 4 years ago, and it was unanimously. It was so egregious to talk about cutting trees down, and it was just very invasive on people's rights, and town unanimously said, this is not what the residents of Hector want. Like you said, it wasn't ready for it. But as a plan taken to the fact that I saw an article from the Wall Street Journal this morning that said that the mass exodus of people from New York, it probably focuses mostly on what we consider downstate, metropolitan region of New York City, whereas 872 businesses have left New York State, 4 red states, Florida, North Carolina, and Texas. So is it accounting for the mass exodus that are sitting from New York State and the tax increase? We are now the highest tax state in the country. So that's something that also has to make into the fold. When we're looking, my husband is third generation Hector. Will we be taxed out soon? Like your farm, will you be taxed out soon? We may be. They're doing New York State doing a revale next year. We may be taxed out. We currently budget into our family budget $320 a week for taxes combined school property. Imagine you're figuring into your weekly budget of $320 a week. that we have to combine with pay our school and property tax at $16,500 a year. As people are not having children, it seems egregious to me that people are not having kids, people are leaving New York State, and we're still paying $60,500 during tax. Will we be taxed out next year? It's a high possibility.
Wait until we retire, and let's get full social security check. It
Bingo.
doesn't even cover our taxes.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Okay,
I had one other thing, kind of change of direction. It seemed like earlier on there was emphasis on making it a like, walkable community. Is 100 square miles
Oh, yeah.
for the hamlets? Okay. Yeah, because also the 414 is dangerous, so it's like not walkable.
No, if you get sidewalks, then we can lower the, make it a hamlet. One big hamlet, basically.
But Beloit has at least some sidewalks, ancient sidewalks, but that's really what the intent is, not, you know, everywhere, but in the hamlet.
Burdette's a good example of a municipality that
Yeah.
developed sidewalks, and it did that over a long period of time, and that could be done in sort of core population areas, I think if where we are right now is a hamlet of sorts. It is, and it is an area where there's services and there's shopping, you know, we might not have everything, but we do have things here, and so if people could walk and you were planning, say, an accessible senior living, small scale, then you would want to think about, can people walk? Can they get from point A to point B? Would it be on a bus route? But I agree with you, we're not
I
gonna,
mean, we both know
Yeah.
a bunch of people that have died right outside.
Right. yes.
And that's one of the reasons, again, encouraging the development within the hamlets, then you have more people to justify the investment in the sidewalk.
How do you encourage development within the hamlet?
Hmm?
How do you encourage
And
development
what would you recommend?
within the hamlet?
Like, you know,
I mean, it's one thing to say it, but it's like, I
Well,
mean, you look
some-
at like Searsburg, there's one corner with the Grange and a church, but it's like, people own houses in between them. Like, how do you actually encourage development in a hamlet?
like,
They develop a hamlet plan.
yeah.
What they want it to
Getting
look like.
to know it and asking around, surveying residents and.
But then you're asking the people who own homes to subdivide their lots and sell them to someone else to build a house? Like, how do you actually physically develop a hamlet? Because people own the land and there's a few buildings that used to have uses that were more, but it's just not clear to me what you would do. I mean, it's one thing to say that, but I just don't understand what you'd actually do to encourage development in the hamlet, short of asking people, will you divide your lot and we'll build a new store on the corner next to you? I mean,
Yeah, well, again, it's tough. And because there's no regulation that says thou shalt live in a hamlet, but certainly maybe by providing infrastructure like sidewalks, and then they become a little more attractive. Yeah, maybe people will start subdividing off their lots. Or again, let's say a not-for-profit housing agency comes along and they want to build an affordable housing development someplace in Hector. That's when the town can say, hey, here are good sites within our hamlets where you could build affordable housing.
And you absolutely cannot do that without transportation.
No,
Well,
that's
Like,
my-
I
my first thought, yeah.
it's a lovely idea,
But
but again, if you can't get anywhere else,
yes,
they can't go to the doctor or to the work or to a program.
and there's not a grocery store.
There's
Yeah,
no grocery
and
store.
that's huge, yeah.
You cannot do it. So in Odessa, you have some of those. Again, it's in a municipality. are just on the edge of the municipality, but they are on a transportation route, on county transportation
Yeah.
route, and can essentially, if you go to the hubs, you can go all of the places you may need to go. So there are some things in the infrastructure that have to happen before the other things. Some of it kind of happen all at the same time. And it would also take the will of the people who live here permanently or year round, want to stay here, live here, born here, die here. Say, yes, we want to. And that's where the public part comes in. We
Well-
want to invest in that, because maybe you don't.
Would you agree that part of comprehensive planning is kind of being aspirational? Like,
I think that's a problem with it, but I think engaging with like actual residents and like removing sort of like, I don't know, like I've felt personally, I'm from a very sort of, disadvantaged area, I guess you'd say. And, you know, elitism and sort of like, it's for everyone, it's their town, like, and it should be absolutely like, right, people who live there and care about it, been there for generations that fix it, right? They know what it means.
Well, and part of our job is to create a vision that may or may not be possible, but it's at least something that the community can think about. And maybe at some point in the future, somebody says, oh, I've got this idea and this is how we can do it. And, oh, look, it's in the plan. Okay, and again, the other thing about the benefit of having a comprehensive plan with these, and yeah, you're right, they're aspirations. Suddenly there might be an opportunity come forward and it's in the comprehensive plan. And you note that, or whoever's the project, whoever's leading whatever the project may be, they can point to the comprehensive plan and says, yes, the community thinks this is an important thing to do. And the state says, oh, look at that, they've thought about this. They're just not doing it because there's grant funding available, but this community thought about, let's say, senior housing of some sort. And so, yeah, let's fund it. And again, even if, you know, one thing, you know, some sort of program, it probably would have to be at the county level. But again, the elder cottage concept, you know, we lost this sort of tradition of multi-generational houses or farms or compounds is a word I've heard, where 2 or 3, sometimes 3 generations of the family live together on, you know, a farmstead or, you know, even just, again, a compound. And that's why if there's a program that supports things like leasing, well, actually, no, purchasing an elder cottage, put on your property for not just like an elderly resident, but another use that is beginning to grow for these elder cottages is a lot of us have children with disabilities. Okay, and historically, the elder cottage was people 55 years or older. And communities are dropping that age restriction because there are a lot of residents who are disabled one way or another who don't want to live in a bedroom with their parents in their parents' home for the rest of their life. They want some sort of independence. And the elder cottages are proven to be a great idea for, you know, adults that are 20, 30, 40 years old.
And sort of semi.
They can live independently, but a family member is right there.
That makes a big difference in terms of quality of. I think there's so many tools out there that it doesn't have to be aspirational. It's just that often information or not knowing sort of where to go or what to do. At least when I first got involved in planning and preservation, and I feel like there's not a lot of regulation. So I mean that could be one thing, but it also could mean what's possible, what can be done, and a lot can be done.
And there's actually, it's been for 2 or 3 decades now, there's actually a secondary market for used elder cottages. They're that portable. You literally pick them up, and sell it. Somebody comes, picks it up, puts it on a tractor trailer and takes it to somebody else's home. Anyway, lots of ideas out there. And again, a lot of challenges.
What has been one of your more successful? You've done it for 20-some years, correct?
Sorry?
We've done it a long time.
You've done this a long time. What has been one of your biggest success stories? Or have they all kind of gone in the same direction?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I would call anything like a bigger success story. Because again, one of the challenges, most of my work has been in communities like Hector. Okay. And just having community consensus on issues is a success story. And I've also worked for the town of Ithaca. Okay. Very easy to be successful when you're working for one of the richest municipalities in New York State. Okay, so that's a good question because I never really kept track.
I mean, you've touched a lot of communities over the years. You go back and look at them 10 years later, did they turn out the way you thought they were gonna turn out, or did they still?
Well, for the most
fighting
part,
uphill battle?
for the most part, I think influenced the direction of where the community was going. Okay, but again, it's very difficult. You guys live in a rural community. Hector does not have the same capacity, governmental capacity that suburban municipalities have.
Nor does Schuyler County. So
Well,
we're also
Schuyler
part
County
of a-
itself.
Part of a bigger group that is the same as us, kind of.
And again, Schuyler County is not one of the richest counties in New York State. In fact, it's down towards the other end.
It should.
Okay.
Just as many resources with the opportunities in the.
We only have 4 municipalities in the county. I mean, I think that is an important aspect of it. It is unusual that Burdette, in a very small scale, is a municipality, is a village.
Yeah.
Within the town of Hector.
Yeah.
So and even there, it can be challenging for people to come to an agreement. So I'll give you an example. Everybody might be all excited and say, yes, that fits with our local farming economy. We should have a Country Max type store where you could get things you need quickly for a farm. I don't have to drive an hour to do it. And, you kind of place it essentially in proximity, and everybody says, that's great. We like that in our planning, except you also have to consider that once you build something like that, that you might have lights on that are longer than people are accustomed to, or you may need to be slowing down to get in and out of the parking lot. I mean, so even the things so I think it's challenging. It takes a lot of discussion to come to some sense of what really makes sense. Because I would, but if I'm the person who lives next door now to the new Country Max, and now it has some jobs and things, those are all good, but I hate these lights that are on until they're, well, because I've always lived on that little family farm that's across the road, or, so the thoughtfulness that has to go into it with the folks is essential.
Yeah, it's huge.
To the outcome, because you really will be you will be doing something that nobody's making you do.
One of the people who came from Ithaca and built a house near where Bergen spread their liquid manure, don't appreciate the agricultural smells.
We probably should have checked with his right to farm. That-
It's in the first place.
Should, yeah, I mean, these are the things, you cannot have all things, and that's just the reality of it.
One, I guess, some of my more successful projects. Now that you've got me thinking about this, is really agriculture and farmland protection, agricultural friendly zoning. Yeah,
Right.
you know.
Preservation of
Educating,
our prime farmland, I mean, this is a,
well, but
Yeah.
again,
yeah.
I know I've been in many conflicts throughout my career between, yes, people who have moved from the cities into a rural area without any understanding. They still think, I'm sorry, some of you guys know, I remember Green Acres. Okay. Some people still think farming's like that. Okay,
I would
and
rather smell Burgess manure spread on the field than instead of having some meth head out stealing stuff from my car every day.
Well,
Yeah.
and again,
So then
I also,
that's why the other people are moving up here,
Right.
because they can afford to get rid of the high crime. As much as everybody's bragging about Ithaca up there, I would want to stay before I go to Ithaca.
well,
When I go over there because I have to, and I'm like, sorry, I'm not carrying a pistol with me. But the horror stories come out of that town down in the flats. This horrendous, we do not want that. In Skyler County, we do not want them to town affected. We do not want the jungle, we do not want that stuff here. We do not want that type of population. Of the South Lake and the leaders. They don't fit for here. Okay, they can keep that stuff. And if we have to live for and not have anything, and that's the alternative, then we'll live the way we are now. They add nothing to society, they drain on our tax dollars.
I'm sorry.
That group of people don't add to the tax dollars, they don't add to society. They drain them.
Can I ask a question, or would it make sense to, from a comprehensive planning viewpoint, kind of separate out the macro issues such as roads, town roads, and then the micro issues such as lake, so because it's really easy to just get it all mixed up in a big pot, and it gets overwhelmed. So like, so the macro issues could be like the environmental overlay, the roads.
And that's pretty typical of a comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
And I think again, like information on like how, like what is planning and just, I think just communication and dialogue. But again, like actually like communicating with the people that live there. I've experienced, unfortunately, I mean, how could you not? And yeah, but just,
I think a lot of people get like stuck in their little spot.
yeah.
And there's big pictures and there's little pictures and medium-sized pictures.
Yeah, no, but it's, yeah,
You zoom in and you zoom out.
but yeah, that's traditional of comprehensive planning and yeah, absolutely.
Well, and again, this is what we're doing tonight. We have those 6 or 7 general policies. Okay. And now discuss them, agree on them, come to a consensus. And then you get into the details. Okay, so, but yeah, you're right. The process is look at the big picture first. Come up with general goals and objectives. And then start figuring out how the community moves forward. And that's when you get into the real details. So.
And there's a lot I feel like that can be done and, you know, just takes the knowledge and, you know, I think, the
sense of places, you know, if we don't want, you know, otherwise that's all cities look alike and, you know. Yeah.
Thanks, guys, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
No.
Right back. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think you need to worry about public speak.
Really? Okay. I know, I tried to hold back, I'm really like passionate about it, like my hometown's very